Hello and welcome to the iPushPull podcast. I'm David Jones, the CTO and co-founder of iPushPull. We're a data sharing and workflow automation platform which is used by banks, brokers, asset managers and trading venues, so a wide range of organisations across the financial markets. In today's podcast, we're going to have a particular focus on one of the ways our customers interact with our platform, namely chatbots. To help me with this, I'm delighted to be joined by two guests from companies that we partner with. First of all, Rob Friend from Symphony. Hi, Rob.
Hi there.
And Simon Coughlan from Euromoney TRADEDATA. Hi, Simon.
Hi, David.
So let's start with you, Rob. What does Symphony do and what do you do for Symphony?
Okay, so Symphony is a collaboration platform. I think we're best known for our chat product, but we also provide voice and a lot of automation products as well that help people with their daily workflows in the institutional finance space. In terms of my role, I'm a product manager here, and I look after the market solutions and extensibility side of the product. So everything to do with building in vendor connections, all the tools that we use to integrate to third-party systems, as well as some of the features that our users want in terms of financial products.
Okay, great, thank you. And how about you, Simon?
Yeah, so today I'm here talking about Euromoney TRADEDATA. I have a broader role. I look after Euromoney's derivatives portfolio, but Euromoney TRADEDATA specifically provides derivatives data predominantly into tier one banks. There's lots of processes that Euromoney run for these banks that integrate different data sets for all sorts of reasons like trading, clearing, regulatory compliance. So we have lots of different products, from web products to APIs to large data feeds that are provided via SFTP.
Okay, great, thank you. So first of all, in our talk about chatbots, we're going to consider the topic at a general level. So looking at how people are using them inside Symphony and examining the kind of chatbots that we at iPushPull have developed. Next, we'll drill down into a particular example, which is a chatbot called Tada, or Tada. This is Euromoney's chatbot, which was implemented by iPushPull and lives inside Symphony. And then finally, we'll try to take a bit of a long view. Which way is the market for chatbots heading, and what other innovations are going to change the way that people within the financial markets are working today? So let's kick off. I mean, if I can start off with you, Rob, here's an easy question. What is a chatbot?
That's a good question. So I think probably people are familiar with chatbots from their personal lives. You deal with them when you talk to your power company, to your phone company, to your bank. And essentially, it's the same experience, but on the professional side of people's lives in finance. So it's a way that a human can talk to a machine in a kind of human-friendly way. So a chat with a machine is the chatbot.
Okay, great. And what kind of chatbots are people using inside Symphony?
So we've got a wide variety of chatbots inside Symphony. I think the most basic chatbot performs a function of really just notifying people when an event has occurred or when a piece of data has become available. So really just a push notification, so very simple interaction. We also see slightly more sophisticated chatbots where a user requests some information from a chatbot. And then I guess the third and probably the most sophisticated is where there's a whole workflow base behind that chatbot where a user can start a process, interact with the chatbot, get taken down a decision tree path, and eventually get to the outcome that they were looking for. So there's a real range of chatbots that we see on the platform.
The bots that live on Symphony, do you write these yourselves, or do companies implement them?
So we provide the tools to allow our clients and vendors like iPushPull to build these bots. So there are some bots that are built by Symphony for some of our workflows, both internally but also with clients. But the majority, and there are about 2,000 individual bots across our network, are built by either our clients or by vendors for our clients.
That's an incredible number of bots on the platform. I mean, how does that compare to the number of human users on Symphony?
So to give you a sense of scale, I think the network that we have today covers about 1,000 firms or over 1,000 firms. These are all financial institutions.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of the number of users, we've got approximately about 500,000 users. And so the majority of those interactions with those bots, it's normally a human to a bot. And it could be obviously one human to, the bot can communicate with many humans. But we also have seen examples where bots actually communicate with other bots. So we start to see more sophisticated interactions where you can have machine-to-machine interactions as well as human-to-machine interactions.
Okay. One of the key things about Symphony is the fact that it provides this kind of secure messaging layer between different market participants. So any message that Bank A sends to Bank B, or between a broker and a bank, or between a bank and a buy side, they're all encrypted and secure. Do you find people using chatbots for, as well as just for internal workflows inside an organization, do they use them for communicating with their clients and counterparties?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the initial use cases tend to be internal when people first start to use these sort of chatbots, because they want to make sure that they can control them and understand how they behave. But we definitely see more and more uses for external chatbots. So whether it's to surface research to a client, to help with that kind of customer service experience. So it could be decision trees. We see them on the operations sides of financial institutions where issue resolution can be speeded up with a bot interaction. And it's maybe a combination of a human and a bot from an institution talking to another human on the other side of that interaction. So there's a real wide variety now, but definitely more and more we're seeing the external bot adoption increase.
Okay, cool. And why do people like using bots? Do you think? Why don't they just use a sort of a dedicated application to do the kind of workflows that are being presented by the bot?
Yeah, there's definitely a place for both, and I think what we see is them used in parallel. So I don't think it's an either or. I think the advantage of putting a bot over a network like Symphony is that the connections to the end user are already there. So you don't have to go through firewalls. You don't need to deploy software. You don't need to teach someone to go to your web page and put in their credentials. All those things are kind of taken away and dealt with for you. So in terms of the friction to get to the end user, it's much quicker to implement a bot and get adoption there. What we see, when you get into some of the more sophisticated workflows, is you can then, the bot can act as an entry point maybe into that more sophisticated platform or front end that you want to take people to. So I don't think it's an either or. It's definitely use them in parallel and use them. They really do complement each other.
Exactly. I mean, we've certainly from our customers, the reason why they like bots is, and this is a direct quote, is because they provide an easy on ramp to an application or to a platform. One of our broker customers, they provide lots of ways for their clients to interact. They provide a screen, an application that people can install on their desktop, or they provide things like fixed interfaces that they can hook up their internal platforms to. But both of those are problematic. If you go into any kind of trading floor, you can see that each end user has multiple monitors. It could be anything 4, 6, up to 8 monitors on their desk at a time. And that, in spite of that, the kind of screen real estate, as they call it, is really limited. It's really hard to get another application onto somebody's desktop. So users often just just choose not to run the application. So being able to present that kind of workflow inside something they've already got running, like a chat platform, like Symphony, that's already open on their desk, it really reduces the friction of onboarding that user to the workflow.
Yeah. I think the other thing that is important in that example is you can also surface that information when you need to. So the user doesn't have to have the application open all the time. If they're in Symphony and something occurs, whatever the thing is, you can then use the bot to highlight to the user that they need to take an action or do something, rather than having to, like you say, get that real estate in one of those 6 screens and have it constantly up there and be watching it. You can actually use the Symphony real estate for that.
Totally, yeah. People don't need to have something open all the time. They need, being able to sort of tap them on the shoulder, figuratively speaking, when something of interest happens is really useful.
There's also the low cost of implementation if you've already got the platform.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's right. Because we have, a great example of that is Fix integrations. Fix is fantastic if you want to hook up a platform in company A to platform in company B, but more often than not, the companies, if there's not a really valuable business case for doing it, then they're not going to expend the time and effort of implementing that Fix interface and then running it 24/7. So by providing platforms that allow you to say hook up Fix into chat, which is one thing that we've done, is it provides another easy way of getting the workflow into an application that somebody's already using without having to do an expensive implementation or deployment project.
That's actually a use case that ETD could use as well, because we have Fix integrations coming into our cloud environment, so we could surface that via iPush-Pull in the chatbot within Symphony.
Well, so we'd be delighted to speak to you about doing that.
Yeah.
So I think we're talking a lot about the simplicity of servicing data or workflows using bots. They obviously do need some development. But Rob, I know that Symphony's implemented some toolkits and frameworks to allow people to easily build bots. Can you talk a little bit about those?
Yeah, sure. So we have a number of tools that we provide. There's a bot developer kit, which the idea is helps developers build a bot reasonably quickly. We obviously have our APIs, which if you really want to go down to kind of the nuts and bolts, you can connect to those. But the bot developer kit, or BDK, is really there to help you build a bot in hopefully days or maybe a couple of weeks. And then more recently, I think we've released a workflow developer kit, WDK, which really tries to go a bit further for the less sophisticated programmers like myself out there who maybe know what they want to build, have an idea of the workflow they'd like to see and can visualize that, but maybe aren't expert Java programmers or ready to go down into that level of detail. But it's really there to help us get those bots out to the people that want them and allow more people to build them, because I think the thing that, as we're talking about, the great thing about bots is there's not much friction to actually getting them deployed. There's still friction. You still need someone to build them, and the more that we can provide these tools that allow users to build them swiftly without having to learn lots of new languages and lots of Symphony specifics, the better it is for us and the better it is for the end user as well.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, we've used your bot developer kit. We started off using the API directly, but the BDK makes it really straightforward, we found, to hook up our code, which handles our kind of integration with data and with the workflows that we implement, and then kind of expose them into Symphony itself. We've used the Python flavor of the BDK.
Yeah.
We haven't tried the workflow developer kit yet, but watch this space. It's
still relatively new, so it's getting
really
more and more
intriguing.
adoption.
Yeah, it's a really intriguing prospect. So it's something we are going to look into.
Is the BDK essentially an abstraction layer over the APIs?
Essentially, yeah.
So it kind of removes a lot of the complexity of hooking up directly to the API. It simplifies things like authentication and so on. It abstracts that kind of thing away. So we've so I suppose we should drill down into a little bit about how we iPush-Pull have implemented our bots. So what Symphony, you've got your own bot framework, which makes it really straightforward for companies to hook up to Symphony Chat. We've got our own bot framework as well, which allows us to hook up data into a chat workflow, and then makes it really straightforward to create bot commands that allow people to slice and dice the data that they want to get into chat. And this is something that has been really important in producing Tadar, the Euromoney bot that we've implemented together. The big challenge with Euromoney data is the size of it. There's a great deal of it out there, and it updates quite frequently. So, Simon, do you want to tell us a little bit about what kind of data Euromoney has, and something about maybe the traditional ways that you get out to your customers?
Sure. So we at Euromoney Derivatives are taking data from all kinds of sources. So we're taking data from many of the big traditional data vendors on behalf of our customers, and those data sets are traditionally pulled via SFTP, and they tend to be the universe of data, and we'd be talking about potentially 30 million rows of data over 150 columns. So you've got these gigantic databases. We've also got data, as I talked about earlier, fix, where we'd be pulling specific exchanges and specific instruments into our database. And then we've also got various scraping operations to get free-to-air data and condense it down into a common model. Now, typically how we serve that out is, again, back out to customers as SFTP deliveries. That could be delimited text files, it could be XML, it could be JSON. We surface that data in a web product with lots of search functionality and so on. And we also have an API product that customers can consume on demand. What the bot gives us is the ability to surface all of that data, and it's updated in near time, just by very, very small amounts. So a customer, for example, could search for an identifier, they could get that related data back straight to their screen, and, for example, fix trade breaks. And that's really a new use case for us. We see lots of potential with that bot on the Symphony platform.
Okay, so what kind of data is it that you have? I mean, things like, is it instrument static data, that kind of thing?
Yes, it would be. It's futures and options data. All of the attributes around that, so regulatory data such as ISINs, for example, CFI. Then all of the associated series data from the vendors, so what's trading in the market, potentially some pricing information. So generally it's static, but we can also get a flow of data in near time from our vendors that have up-to-date series. Okay. So strike prices and so on.
So the way that we've connected to your data is, well, there's various. iPushPull lets you get data into our platform and then expose it through chatbots in various different ways. At the very basic level, some customers just have like an Excel sheet and they can push the data straight into us. But for something that's a bit more systematic, like we've set up with Euromoney, we use two different approaches. One of them is using our data loader, and that basically does a daily query against some of your databases and then pushes the data in through our API. And that's suitable for things like smaller data sets, things like daily corporate actions, which is generally a few hundred rows of data, I think, that kind of size. For some of the larger data sets, like instrument static, you're SFTPing that to us. And then we import that into our platform, and then once it's in iPushPull, we basically we've worked with you very closely, I think, to define the set of queries that you think your end users will be most interested in being able to use. So you can take a piece of data and you can use our interactive tool to build some standard bot commands. So, for example, we have one like CA today, and that gives you all of the corporate actions today. You can have corporate actions CA next, I think, which gives you, which takes a parameter. So you could say, give me the corporate actions for the next 5 days or so. And then there's some queries that do a sort of a much bigger search across the full data set. So that's for things like searching for static data, searching for instrument definitions, and so on. So this is, these are the kind of things that we've worked on to, because we think they're the kind of queries that end users will be interested in using. So Simon, why do you think that exposing these kind of things inside a platform like Symphony, in particular, I guess, is going to be particularly welcome to end users?
Well, essentially, what we're able to do is enable the users to get to specific pieces of information with a set of defined commands, without the users having to set up the processes we've set up to pump data in at scale into their environment. Essentially, what we can give them is a command line interface with a set of intuitive commands that enables them to surface the data without any implementation cost of implementing the data flows that come from all of the different data sources and databasing it and all of the maintenance that goes with that. Essentially, they have one common interface they can pull the data out of on demand.
Yeah, that's right. And I think one of the benefits of Symphony is that this Tadar bot, Symphony lets you. It basically appears like another human user inside Symphony. So you can search through the Symphony directory and connect to it, and once you've connected to the bot, you can start using it immediately. So there's no installation, and users don't have to do any context switching to start using it. We've got the bot's completely is available inside the Symphony directory. This is more a question for you, Rob, I guess. What's the kind of you've mentioned that Symphony has got hundreds of thousands of users. What kind of organisations do they work for, and what's your kind of spread across the financial markets?
Yeah, I think we probably touch every financial institution type you can think of. So from the big tier one sell sides through to obviously the tier twos and tier three sell sides, the banks. We have interdealer brokers. We've talked about them earlier on the call. Asset managers, hedge funds, so you name it, we probably have many of each flavour, and that network's growing on a constant basis. So I think there's the use case for the Tadar bot specifically is probably more on the sort of support operations, trade break side of things, and that user base is on Symphony too. So as well as the front office, we also have the middle office and operations users. So a real spread of institution types and also user types within those institutions.
So I think it provides a really good route to market for organisations like Euromoney. It allows them to sort of reach out to maybe tier 2, tier 3 banks, asset managers, and so on, who previously might not have been able to get hold of the kind of data that the Euromoney provides.
And I think maybe, and this may be one for you and Simon, but I think the actual kind of cost to build versus how you'd have to develop a tool and then market it out is probably a much better value for money to kind of build these things, and then if there is adoption, really kind of invest and build on it from there. So much faster route to market, much more agile kind of way of getting a new product out, I think.
Yeah, totally. I mean, we provide a way of just hooking up your data, configuring some commands, and then off you go. Really, it can literally be as quick as that. I mean, some of the stuff that we also provide that perhaps end users don't see, but is very useful for the Euromoney sales team is all the kind of audit and monitoring information that we provide in the background. So we're able to see when users sign up. We can see the kind of, if they're making consistent mistakes with any of the commands. So it can help us to sort of tune the commands. If people keep making the same kind of error, it helps us to think, okay, well, actually, maybe we should change the command to make it something a little bit more understandable.
Of course, we also have the analytics. So we can see by looking at the iPushPull logs, for example, that customers are issuing certain commands to get specific data sets back that enable us to really profile what the customer's looking at and potentially tailor more solutions for that customer around what they've already looked at. So that information is really useful to us in terms of analytics.
Yeah, totally. We've seen that in some of the other workflows you've implemented using with our workflow framework. One of our customers uses us for a pre-trade workflow, and this was previously spread across email, chat, telephone, and there was no kind of consistent way of recording, who's responding fastest, who's the most reliable person involved in these workflows. By bringing it into a single bot framework, it means that we can collect these kind of statistics, and you can use them for kind of broader, collection of metrics and so on. So, ultimately, we want to start using this kind of information for predictive analytics, but I think that's a little bit further down the road. Just to talk, we mentioned Fix a little bit earlier on. I think that this is something that we are particularly excited about. Is what Symphony provides as a kind of market infrastructure, in that it can actually sort of help to replace some of these quite difficult to implement processes like Fix protocols. Rob, can you explain a little bit about the market infrastructure side of Symphony?
Yeah, sure. I think one of the things that we hear quite frequently is the kind of last mile problem. So, obviously, like you talked about, big interdealer brokers and big sell sides have fixed connections set up, and that's great and works well. But as soon as you start moving down the customer base, getting a fixed connection in place or getting onto someone's queue to build a fixed connection can take a long time. So where I think Symphony has a role to play is really that sort of last mile connection between one firm and another, where we can actually use the infrastructure we've got, which is a secure, encrypted chat room, which you could also call a data pipe, to connect those two institutions. Now, kind of health warning is it's built for chat, so I wouldn't recommend that anyone starts putting down their level 2 equity market data, because it probably isn't designed for that. But when you're talking about kind of pre-trade or post-trade workflows, there's definitely a role to play there, where Symphony can act as that kind of connector that allows you to quickly and easily get those connections in place.
Yeah, that's right. So what we've done in our fixed chat workflows is we've done the hookup to one of our customers' fixed services, and then we receive messages from that customer via Fix. Then we inspect the message, and so we can see, okay, well, who's this supposed to be sent to, and what's this message about? And we use that information to route that into a Symphony chat room. So our bot basically takes the Fix message, decides who it needs to be sent to, and then converts it into a human readable message, which could be something like a trade confirmation, for example. And so that's what we're increasingly seeing is on the workflow side is customers wanting to automate these kind of these quite sort of tedious workflows where somebody's a human user is being expected to type in a trade confirmation into a chat room, but by hooking up processes like Fix, doing this kind of message routing and then mapping into human readable form and sending that message into a chat room, it can really kind of streamline people's processes and make things a lot more efficient. So yeah, there's a whole level of workflow that can be built on top of chatbots. We've talked in a lot of detail about the data workflows where people are able to request data that they're interested in, or ask the bot to tell me when something changes about the data I'm interested in. But I think certainly the next exciting phase that we're moving into is more workflows being automated and brought into the chat world, which means that people don't need to be switching out of different applications. They can just stay inside something that's already running on their desktop. Rob, have you got any thoughts about what's happening next? Where do you think where do you think that the workflows are moving?
So I think the thing that is going to be interesting over the coming years is that hybrid world. So we see voice is still going to exist in the markets. People get a lot of value out of the voice. Obviously, chat has been with us for a while now. Email, unfortunately, is still with us. My inbox is out of control, and I'm sure we'd all love a much better workflow than email. And then obviously now we've got chatbots, and those are more and more prevalent in our personal and professional lives. So I think the future is probably how do those things work better together. So when voice and machine, so bot and human can work together. I'm imagining a world where those things start to blur more, and the more that we can kind of build those interfaces so that a machine can talk in a human understandable way to a human, so a chatbot and voice transcription, and then you start to get into all the kind of AI, NLP, and all the information that's held in those voice conversations. Unlocking that, I think, is the next big challenge. And so, how we bring those three kind of parts together is really going to be the challenge and going to be exciting. And that's where a lot of efficiencies and benefits are going to come from. I think is trying to remove all that friction and all the rekeying and all the lost information that sits somewhere in a database that no one can actually get access to. So there's lots to do.
Yes, totally. How about you, Simon? Where do you think things are moving?
I broadly agree. I mean, I think really talking about our bot, Tadar, really the next stage for me is being able to talk to it directly rather than issuing the commands. So that's where I see it going next, where there's still the use of voice, but the voice is talking to the bot. The bot's doing all the heavy lifting.
Great. Well, we better get started. Let's get working on it. Great. Well, thanks very much to both of you. It's been a really interesting session. Thanks for your insights, and look forward to catching up with you again soon. Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
a lot.
you both.